The night he left me, it was raining so hard I could barely see the road. My hands trembled as I held his last text. Betrayal doesn't come loud, it comes quiet, like a whisper in the storm. That was the night my heart was pushed into someone else's hands. Welcome to the Untold Love, a home for stories that touch the heart. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments below. I still remember the first time I met him. It wasn't dramatic like the movies, no crashing into each other on a busy street, no love at first sight moment. It was simple, ordinary even. Yet, in that ordinary moment, something inside me shifted, as if my heart had quietly decided its place. He had a presence that was hard to ignore. Not just because he was handsome, though yes, he was, but because he carried himself with a kind of confidence that drew people in. He laughed easily, spoke gently, and looked at you as though your words actually mattered. For someone like me, who often felt invisible, his attention felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. Our story began in small fragments. A shared cup of coffee, conversations that lasted longer than they should have, and silences that were never uncomfortable. It was strange how natural it felt to be around him, like I didn't have to pretend, like I didn't have to be anyone other than myself. And for the first time, I felt seen, truly seen. Love didn't rush in all at once, it bloomed slowly, like spring after a long winter. I found myself looking forward to his messages, his calls, the way his name lit up my phone. Nights became shorter, not because I slept less, but because time with him made hours feel like minutes. He made promises, not in grand declarations, but in little ways that mattered. The way he held my hand when we crossed the street. The way he listened when I spoke of my fears, my dreams, and even the things I thought were too silly to share. His voice carried sincerity, and his eyes reflected a future I had always hoped for. And me? I gave him everything. My laughter, my trust, my loyalty. I believed him when he said I was the only one. I believed his words because I wanted to. Because sometimes, when your heart finally feels at home, you stop questioning, you just believe. Looking back now, those early days almost feel like a dream. A soft, beautiful dream that I never wanted to wake up from. If only I had known then that the same man who made me feel so safe would one day be the very reason I lost myself. At first, everything felt perfect, too perfect, maybe. But love has a way of blinding us, doesn't it? It hides the cracks until they grow too wide to ignore. I began to notice the changes slowly. At first, they were just whispers, small enough that I could push them aside. He started coming home later than usual, his smile carrying a weight I couldn't understand. His phone, once left carelessly on the table, was now guarded, face down, always within his reach. When I asked simple questions, his answers came too quickly, too rehearsed, as if they had been waiting on his tongue long before I asked. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself he was just tired, busy, stressed. Love makes you an expert in excuses, especially when you're afraid of the truth. But my heart, it knew. The first undeniable sign came one evening when I found a receipt tucked into his jacket pocket. A dinner for two, at a place we had never been together. My hands trembled as I held it, but when I showed it to him, he laughed it off. It was with a client, he said, his tone so casual, so convincing. I wanted to believe him. I really did. Then came the silences. The kind that stretched too long, the kind that felt heavier than words. He would sit across from me, scrolling on his phone, while I sat there waiting for his eyes to find mine again, waiting for his voice to pull me back into the world we once shared. And yet, I stayed quiet. Because silence felt safer than confrontation. Because asking might break everything, and I wasn't ready for it to shatter. But the truth always has a way of slipping through the cracks. One night, as he spoke on the phone in the other room, I overheard a softness in his voice I hadn't heard in weeks. A tenderness that wasn't meant for me. My chest tightened, my breath caught, and in that moment, my worst fear began to take shape. It was then I realized if betrayal doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it creeps in softly, through lies too small to notice and changes too subtle to fight. But once it enters, it doesn't leave. It waits, silently, until the moment it breaks you completely. The night it all broke open is etched in my memory like a scar I can't erase. I had spent days drowning in doubt, trying to silence the storm in my chest. But storms don't stay quiet forever, and that night, mine finally erupted. I confronted him. My voice shook as the words slipped out. Who is she? He froze. His eyes, once warm and steady, avoided mine. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, as though the truth was fighting to escape, but his pride wanted to bury it. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he whispered words that shattered me. It didn't mean anything, it was just a mistake. A mistake. That's what he called it. As if betrayal could be measured in scale. As if breaking the heart of someone who trusted you with everything could be reduced to something so small. So careless. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall, not in front of him. I stood there, my body trembling, while he tried to explain, tried to paint the wound with excuses. He swore he loved me. He swore it was me he wanted. But how could love and betrayal live in the same breath? How could the man who once promised me forever now stand before me with a heart divided? I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to make him feel even a fraction of the pain tearing through me. But instead, I went quiet. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words, and mine carried all the grief, all the disappointment, all the broken trust one couldn't put into sentences. That night, I packed my things. Not everything, just enough to remind myself I still had choices, that I wasn't chained to his betrayal. He begged me to stay, his hands reaching for mine, his voice breaking. But I couldn't. The walls of our love, once so strong, had collapsed, and I was left standing in the ruins. Walking out the door, I felt both heavy and strangely light. Heavy with heartbreak, light with the fragile strength of finally choosing myself. And in that moment, I understood, sometimes love doesn't end in hate. Sometimes it ends in silence. In the quiet realization that trust, once broken, can never be pieced back together the same way again. After leaving him, my world felt empty. Nights stretched endlessly, and mornings carried no warmth. I had walked away with dignity, yes, but dignity doesn't silence the ache of a broken heart. I was lost, adrift in a life I no longer recognized. That's when he appeared. The man who would change everything. He wasn't like the one I had loved. His presence was steady, almost intimidating, the kind of calm that made people listen without him having to raise his voice. He didn't shower me with charm, nor did he pretend to offer love. Instead, he came with an offer, a deal. At first, I laughed at the absurdity of it. A deal? How could anyone imagine love, or even companionship, could be bound by terms like a contract? But he wasn't talking about love. He was talking about survival. About giving me protection, stability, and a place where betrayal wouldn't reach me. I resisted. My heart, though broken, still longed for something real, something pure. But reality has a way of hardening soft hearts. And in my loneliness, in my desperation to feel safe again, I said yes. Not because I trusted him, but because I no longer trusted myself. The days that followed were strange. He kept his distance, never crossing boundaries. His care wasn't tender, but it was present, in the way he noticed when I skipped meals. In the way he stepped in when others tried to take advantage of my vulnerability. He wasn't gentle, but he was dependable. And that dependability became its own kind of comfort. Slowly, I began to see glimpses of a man hidden beneath the surface. A man who carried his own scars, his own reasons for keeping love at arm's length. And though our connection began as nothing more than an agreement, I couldn't ignore the way my heart began to stir again, quietly, cautiously, against my will. I didn't know if what I felt was love, or simply the fragile hope of starting over. But what I did know was this: the man who betrayed me had pushed me into this deal. And in this deal, I found something I never expected: respect. A respect that, perhaps, could one day grow into something more. Just when I thought I had begun to breathe again, the past came knocking at my door. It was late evening, the sky heavy with clouds, when I saw him standing there, the man who once held my heart and broke it without mercy. His face carried exhaustion, his eyes swollen as if sleepless nights had finally caught up with him. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened, not with longing, but with the sharp reminder of everything he had taken from me. He didn't come with pride this time. He came with regret. His voice cracked as he spoke my name, and for the first time, I saw him not as the man who betrayed me, but as the man who was drowning in the consequences of his choices. "I made a mistake," he whispered. "I was weak, but I never stopped loving you. Please, come back." Tears threatened to fall, but I held them back. I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to. A part of me still remembered the warmth of his laughter, the safety of his arms. But another part, the wounded part, reminded me of the nights I cried alone, of the silence that replaced his promises. And then there was the other man, the one I had entered a deal with. He wasn't perfect, no. But in my darkest days, he had been steady. He didn't lie to me. He didn't pretend to love me. Yet somehow, his honesty, his quiet protection, had given me more peace than the man I once thought was my forever. I stood caught between two worlds, my past and my present. One man begging me to forgive, to remember the love we once shared. The other, silent but constant, offering me a future built not on sweet promises, but on respect and truth. It felt like my heart was being torn apart. Do I return to the love that once made me feel alive, knowing it also broke me? Or do I take a step towards something uncertain, something that wasn't love yet, but had the potential to become something stronger? That night, as rain began to fall again, I realized, no matter which choice I made, nothing would ever be the same again. The decision didn't come in a single moment. It came slowly, like dawn breaking after a long, restless night. My heart was torn between the man who once gave me everything and then shattered it, and the man who gave me nothing but still managed to restore my strength. I looked at the one who betrayed me, his tears, his regret, his desperate apologies. A part of me still loved him. Love doesn't vanish overnight. But I realized something deeper that night: love without trust is like a house without walls. No matter how much you decorate it, it will never be a home. So I chose, not him. Not the past. I walked away, not out of anger, but out of respect for myself. Because forgiveness is one thing, but forgetting who you are is another. And I had already lost too much of myself in his shadow. As for the other man, the one who entered my life through a deal, I didn't run into his arms like some fairy tale ending. No, our story was quieter, slower, undefined. But in his silence, I found a strange comfort. In his steadiness, I discovered the strength I thought I had lost. He didn't heal me with promises of love. He healed me with presence, with honesty, with the simple truth that I deserved better. Maybe one day it would become love. Maybe it wouldn't. But for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of the uncertainty. Because I finally understood. Healing isn't about finding someone to complete you. Healing is about finding yourself again, piece by piece, until you can stand whole, whether someone stands beside you or not. That night, I stood in the rain once more, but this time, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt free. The past no longer chained me. The future no longer scared me. And the present, the fragile, beautiful present, was finally mine. Sometimes betrayal doesn't destroy you. Sometimes, it saves you. Because it pushes you out of what you thought was love, and into the arms of what you truly deserve, even if that's just yourself. Years later, when I look back at it all, I don't see it as a story of betrayal anymore. I see it as a story of becoming. I remember the girl I once was, the one who gave her whole heart without hesitation, who believed promises more than actions. Who stayed quiet just to keep the peace. She was fragile, but she was also brave. She dared to love, even when the world warned her not to. And though her love was betrayed, I honor her now, because without her, I wouldn't have found the strength to stand where I am today. The man who betrayed me, yes, his memory still lingers, like an old scar. Sometimes I wonder what might have been, if he had chosen me fully, if he hadn't let temptation take what we had built. But those thoughts don't wound me anymore. They pass through me like the wind, felt, but never lasting. Because the truth is, some people are not meant to stay. They are only meant to teach you what love should never look like. And the other man, the one who began as nothing more than a deal. Our story didn't become a perfect romance overnight. It wasn't fireworks and grand gestures. It was quieter than that. Steadier than that. And maybe that's what love should be, a calm presence, a safe place, a hand that doesn't let go when the world feels heavy. But even if it doesn't last forever, even if it fades into friendship, I know I will never forget the respect he gave me when I needed it most. Because sometimes the smallest kindness can save a life that feels like it's falling apart. Standing here today, I no longer define myself by the betrayal that once broke me. Instead, I define myself by the strength that rose from it. I am not the woman who was left in the rain. I am the woman who learned to dance in it. And if there's one lesson I've carried with me, it's this: sometimes the greatest love story you'll ever live is not about finding the right person, it's about finally becoming the right person for yourself.